Hi everybody, my name is Dan Sokulski. I'm a certified recovery support specialist with the McLean County ROSC in Central Illinois. We're affiliated with Chestnut Health Systems, that's our lead agency. Anyway, we have all sorts of different videos. Thank you for checking out this YouTube channel. Hopefully you've seen some, everything from boiling down the steps to make them more simpler for newcomers, to videos on relationships, to just general topics in recovery, people telling their stories, panels. There's a lot of cool stuff, so hopefully you'll check it out. If you ever want to get a hold of us, McLean County ROSC at chestnut.org, and I'm hoping poof that's showing up on the screen. Today we're going to talk about a pretty fundamental recovery topic, acceptance. And if you've ever been in treatment or early recovery and gone to your counselor and complained about the food, or your roommate snoring, or having to get up too early for groups, or any number of things that we complain about in treatment, you've probably been told, well, check out page 417 in the big book. And sometimes I think people who've been around a while maybe roll their eyes at, you know, the 417 acceptance is the answer reference, just because it's so often, you know, talked about and in reference that it just almost seems trite. But the truth of the matter is it's always talked about and always referenced because it is a classic. And it really gets down to what we need to do to surrender and accept situations around us in order to help find serenity. And ultimately what Sandy Beach, when he speaks on the topic of surrender and acceptance, says, you know, he says that you can really boil down recovery just to two words, and that's let go. You know, there's a lot that goes along with that, but we're talking about surrender, the antithesis to our human instinct, which is to fight, to claw, to scratch, to hang in there till, you know, the last possible minute till we're KO'd. We're talking about a disease here, an illness. Fighting and having mental tenacity and being determined is all good, but it's really about taking actions in recovery, not really so much our thought process or what we say we're going to do or what we think we're going to do or what we research that we're going to do. So just letting go, there's actually quite a bit of relief that comes with surrender. But her wife once bought me a dog tag with the Serenity prayer on it, and you know, I thought it was like when I was kind of struggling early in recovery, one of the many times I was struggling, and I looked at it like this sort of like, you know, kind of cool, almost like, you know, glorious battle I'm having with my addiction. This is my dog tag, so I'm a warrior, you know, in recovery. But really, the idea was that I should have had that eventually helped was the exact opposite. And this isn't a battle, this doesn't need to be a struggle. I can be a different type of warrior, maybe a spiritual warrior, but a warrior just battling my addiction without utilizing supports around me, that's not going to work. The real key was in surrender and giving up the battle. So I'm going to read page 417, a little bit into 418 to get from the AA Big Book. And this is from a great story called Acceptance Was the Answer. It actually starts back on 407, I think. 407. And this is a doctor talking about how he'd self-prescribed himself all these medications. Basically got to a point where in order to fall asleep, he had to inject himself with like propanol in his car with the exact amount and then run inside to bed before that 10 seconds before he, you know, passed out the anesthesia type medications. So, you know, he was taking all sorts of pep pills and downers to offset the effects of alcohol and just in really rough shape. And eventually he goes on to say on 417, the first full paragraph, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. Right there is a very weighty statement. When I'm disturbed, it's because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me, and I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing, happens in God's world by mistake. Great line. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Until I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me and in my attitudes. Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. He forgot to mention that I am the chief critic. I was always able to see the flaw in every person, every situation, and I always was glad to point it out because I knew you wanted perfection just as I did. AA and acceptance have taught me that there's a bit of good in the worst of us, and a bit of bad in the best of us. That we are all children of God and we have a right to be here. When I complain about me or you, I'm complaining about God's handiwork. I'm saying that I know better than God. For years, I was sure the worst thing that could happen to a nice guy like me would be that I would be an alcoholic. Today, I find it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. This proves I don't know what's good for me. And if I don't know what's good for me, then I don't know what's good for you or anyone. So I'm better off if I don't give advice, don't figure I know what's best, and just accept life on life's terms, as it is today, especially my own life, as it actually is. Before AA, I judged myself by my intentions, while the world was judging me by my actions. I'm willing to say that's probably the first reference to accepting life on life's terms. We say that a lot in recovery in the treatment industry. I think that's where it's coming from. Hang with me a little longer, one more paragraph. Acceptance has been the answer to my marital problems. It's as though AA had given me a new pair of glasses. Another great line. Max and I have been married now for 35 years. Prior to our marriage, when she was a shy, scrawny adolescent, I was able to see things in her that others couldn't necessarily see. Things like beauty, charm, gaiety, a life for being easy to talk to, a sense of humor, and many other fine qualities. It was as if I had, rather than a Midas touch which turned everything to gold, a magnifying mind that magnified whatever it focused on. Over the years, as I thought about Max, her good qualities grew and grew, and we married, and all these qualities became more and more apparent to me, and we were happier and happier. But then as I drank more and more, the alcohol seemed to affect my vision. Instead of continuing to see what was good about my wife, I began to see her defects. The more I focused my mind on her defects, the more they grew and multiplied, and just goes on to say, then one day in AA, I was told that I had the lenses in my glasses backwards. The courage to change in the Serenity Prayer, not that I should change my marriage, but rather I should change myself and learn to accept my spouse or other people as they are. AA has given me a new pair of glasses. I can again focus on my wife's good qualities and watch them grow and grow and grow. So it kind of gets into the relationship stuff there, but the idea, of course, is acceptance. And that new pair of glasses, there's also a good book, while I'm thinking of it, by Chuck C., called A New Pair of Glasses, and it's basically a reprint of one of his classic speaker testimonials from the 50s or 60s, but check it out. Okay, so talking about, he's saying acceptance is the answer to every problem he has. And that's maybe hard for us to wrap our minds around or even believe. But I got to think about my own experience when I was in treatment. I was in a long-term place for about 4 months. When I went down there, I was filled with fear, and I've talked about this in my story and other videos. You know, I ruined my career. That's this exploding thing here, this little fire. My marriage, of course, was on the rocks. You have 8 or 9 relapses in the span of 6-7 years, or 8 or 9 treatment stays. That's going to cause some friction. Legal situation, facing multiple years in prison. Just all the fears of the unknown. Other relationships, my parents, my brother, that needed to be mended, and just finances. You know, just in upheaval. All these fears were excellent reasons for me to drink and use and just keep digging a deeper bottom. When I started to get well down there, and they started getting us into sponsorship and working the steps and taking us to meetings and service work, I started to feel something awaken within me, and we talked a lot about this acceptance and surrender. And I had an attitude of just absolute surrender. I'm not going to fight anything. Whatever the staff tells me, I'm going to do. Whatever my counselor suggests, you know, I'm going to do. If they tell me to fill out an 11-step inventory every night, I'm going to fill it out and do it honestly and thoroughly. If they tell me I got to stay 45 days now, or 60 days now, or 75, I'm just going to do it. And I practiced that, and it wasn't always easy. Long story short, a lot of things happened, but my spirit started to awaken by taking actions, by doing some of those simple things we talk about in recovery. And all these situations that were just eating me up to the point where I was just spiritually desolate and just a puppet being operated by some fear master. None of these situations had changed. I still had to go home and work on my marriage. I still had to figure out, rebound and find something to do work-wise. I still had to deal with my legal situations, and all these other things. But the fear was gone because of acceptance. Because just accepting this is what it is, and there's a lot of balance that comes with acceptance as far as, gratitude and seeing how it could be worse, and so I've heard people say, Michelle Cope, our beloved ROSC member from the Bloomington Public Library, says, embrace the suck. That's one way to say it. Acceptance doesn't have to be this arduous, painful thing. It's really just kind of, I think, a combination of being patient and tolerant with ourselves, and just sort of living in the moment one day at a time. And these are my circumstances, but they're not going to always be. It's not a permanent state. And the cool thing is now I have some suggestions of things I can do to grow and maintain my connection to whatever this power is that I'm tapping into that's helping me accept my life circumstances, and I don't have to go back to the fear. So it's the cool thing is the situation may not change, but our attitude towards it does, like he talks about in the story. And then once that happens, it's just like the weight's unlifted. We cut the anchor, and we put that new pair of glasses on, and we see the world differently, and we have a different perspective, and we know, we can rely on people giving us good advice on what we need to do, what actions we need to take, and life and recovery just comes a lot easier. Freestyling a little bit at the end here, but hopefully this is making sense. So the real thing, page 417, 418, great commentary on acceptance being a crucial role in our recovery. Also recommend Sandy B has some videos on YouTube. You can reach out to the McLean County ROSC. So thank you for your time. We appreciate you checking out this video. Hopefully you got something from it. If you did, you can hit like. If you don't, that's fine too. We're not monetizing this, so it's not a big deal, but we do like to know what people are enjoying. So thank you, and come back again. Take care.